Hey everybody, welcome to the Prime webinar. Hope you guys are excited to just get into this and to see what great of a resource this is for worship leaders and churches. So if you would, maybe just so we can get to know where you guys are from, just type in the chat box, maybe just put like the city or the church or whatever, we'll be able to see that. So Prime is a great app that was designed for the iPod, the iPhone, and the iPad exclusively. You can download it for free in the App Store. And we would love for you guys, if you do download that and use it, to leave us a good review, a good rating in the App Store. That helps us and just boosts kind of everything for Prime, and we just want to hear your feedback. So if you can do that, that would be great. So let's just jump into this Prime app and just get going. So you'll notice a lot of things right off the bat, and we've tried to make this as simple as possible, but maybe it just looks a little bit overwhelming. So we're just going to start simple with kind of what Prime is and how does it work and how does it work for you. So Prime is just a playback app that we designed to play back tracks that you purchase and that you can use in the place of like very complicated music software. If you're just getting started and using tracks for your church or for live performance, this is a great option because, like I said earlier, it's free, and the interface is a lot easier to use than having to program a lot of things. And we're just going to go over a huge list of stuff, and there's a lot of things that you can use with this app. So the first question probably most of you have is where do I get songs? How do I get songs once I download the app into the app so I can use them? And that's a great question. So all of our songs from loopcommunity.com, you can purchase those. You can sign up for a free user account there with us and purchase those songs, and the same user account that you use to sign into Loop Community, you're going to use to log into our app once you download it from the App Store. And if you make a purchase through Loop Community, it will automatically show up in Prime. So here in the app, you can see here some of these green songs here in the set list that I've purchased through my account, and they showed up automatically in Prime. There's also some custom uploads. We'll talk about that in just a little while. But yeah, if you make a purchase through the website, it will automatically show up here to your account. There's no having to like go and take something off of the computer and load it into your iPad or send yourself an email or anything like that. It's just straight syncs to the app, which is great. So that's how those songs are there, and that's how they show up in Prime. So basically, if you're wanting to add songs, if you take a look here in this green box right here, at the very bottom it'll say Add Songs. So I'm going to just tap that where it says Add Songs, and it's going to pull up for me a list of all the songs in my current library. Now the ones that have a check by them are the songs that I have downloaded, and they're currently on my iPad. They're on the physical iPad. They're on the device. The ones that are green that aren't checked, I have them in my library, but I haven't downloaded them to my actual iPad. So they're kind of in the cloud right now. And you can see through some of these, there's some great songs. We have a ton of song selections, and each one that you purchase or upload to your account will show up here in this library. So I've selected those songs here in this menu. So this first song, this is Amazing Grace by Phil Wickham. You'll notice that at the top there's the audio wave file there, and it has like sections. We'll get into that in a moment. But I'm just going to play this back, and you can just simply see there's the cues are there, the click track is there, the audio sounds great. You have full ability to mix each instrument if you want. So if I want more electric, if I want to turn on just certain things or mute certain things or solo them, it's super easy to control right here. So here is your mixer, and you can have up to 16 channels that you can mix, and the other two, the red tracks, are your click and your cues down here, and you can mute those and solo them as well. And that works for all the tracks that you purchase that you're going to play back. So that's a great, it's super easy, and I think most of you guys will just be able to relate to that right away. So in that, if, let's say you had a song in your playlist and like God is Alive by North Point Live, the number 4. So I don't want that song in my set list right now. So I want to remove that. So I'm going to hit Edit Set List at the bottom right hand corner, and it's going to bring up those little circles with the minuses. I'm going to tap the one next to the 4th song, and then I'm just going to tap Delete. And it's just going to remove that. Now, and then I'm going to hit Done. Now, it doesn't delete it from your library, it just deletes it from your set list. So don't worry, you're still able to get that. So if you tap Add Songs again, it's still on the device, and it's right there. You can see it right in the middle. God is Alive by North Point Live. You just grab that, and if you hit it again, it'll bring it straight back in. So I'm going to touch that again, and it's going to bring it straight back into where it was at in the set list, which is great. Let's say that I like these songs in my set list, but I want to rearrange them a little bit. So if you go to Edit Set List, it pulls up the list. Now, all the way to the right of those green tracks, you'll see the BPM, and then you'll see 3 little gray horizontal bars. If you say, let's say we want God is Alive to be the first song, I'm just going to kind of tap and hold, and I'm just going to drag that right up to the top and drop it. Super easy and intuitive. You just drag and drop and arrange this, and when you're done, you just tap Done, and then your set list is saved. It renumbers everything for you. And what's great about Prime is that all these changes that we're making, mixing these different tracks, and certain things I want to mute, certain things I want to lower the volume. If I go back to This Is Amazing Grace, and then go back to God is Alive, it will save all of those. The presets on my mixers, it'll save all of that. All the faders will stay the same. So I'm not having to remix it every time, and it'll remember it, which is great. So you can kind of just set it and forget it and move forward. If you want to kind of, maybe you want to just have a click track or a metronome in here. You don't have a track for it, but you want to kind of have more of an acoustical feel, or you want a full band sound without using a loop, you can just add a click track. So if you go to Add Songs, I already have one that I added. So at the top, it'll say Add Click Track. So if you click Add Click Track right there, you can type in a name for your click track. So let's say you're doing Our God by Chris Tomlin. So, in the BPM, maybe it's a little quicker, more like 86 or something, and then you can set your time signature to, like, let's do 4/4, because I know the song's in 4/4. And then when you're done, at the top, you just hit Done, and it'll add that click track right in there, and you can just play that through. And at the bottom, you'll see that little red fader here, and this is your click volume right there. So you just hit play, and it's just tapping out the click, which is really nice, because you have this here, there's no tracks, and your band can play along to this, especially if you're using like an inter-monitor system, or if your audio is routed so that your drummer can hear the click. So that's really nice, and it's just being able to use Prime as like a metronome app is great. There are some other things to the right of your set list. You'll notice that those things are those little triangles, and you're like, oh, well, why is some of them white and why are some of them gray? So here is a feature we call Auto Advance. So let's say you're in a set and you are like, okay, I don't want to stop and reach over to the iPad and have to tap the next song. I just want to like go to the next song. So let's say we're in This Is Amazing Grace, and we're at the end of the song. So I'm scribing here all the way to the end, and I want it to just go ahead. So now that I've tapped this white arrow on the side here, it's going to turn on Auto Advance, and it's just going to go to the next song. So let's hit play, and you'll see it's playing, and I don't have to touch anything. It just goes straight into one thing live, which is great. It knows the click, and it knows my faders. All the settings are there, and it just goes. So I can make more of a seamless transition and not have to worry about reaching over and losing that moment that's there whenever I'm in my worship set or my live performance, which is great. So that's Auto Advance, and you can turn those on for any of the tracks and keep going with that. Now the bottom right hand corner under set list, maybe you're listening to a song here and you're like, it's in 113 in the key of C. I don't like the current BPM. I want it to slow down a little bit. So under Edit Set List, Prime kind of auto warps this, so you can just tap down and it will slow down the volume, and you can hear the tempo start to drop. Now the cool thing about the tempo is the original tempo of the song, it'll go 9 steps down or 9 steps up of the original tempo. So back up to 113. And then the same thing works for the key. So we're in the key of C. I kind of want to just up it. C sharp, D. So I have a higher vocalist that can sing a little higher, or maybe I have a little bit of a lower vocalist that sings lower. So this is a really nice feature. There's no like having to reconfigure things. It's just a push of a button and the whole track is worked. So something that's cool about this feature with Prime, you may have a question like, well, what about like drums or percussion files? You know, is it gonna like warp those two and start sounding weird? So Prime knows to keep the audio files like guitars, bass, acoustic, anything that has like, you know, noticeable keys. It will change those, it will warp those keys, but any percussive files, cymbals, toms, drums, shaker, anything like that, it will keep it in the same key as not to start like distorting the audio or make it weird, which is great. So that's tempo and the key changing there, so that's a great feature. You'll notice a little bit to the left, right beside the master fader, right here, is a pan button. And so this is what we call audio preview. So if you're listening to this right now, you can probably hear the audio in both your left speaker and right speaker. So usually we have tracks that are split, with the click and the cues are in the left channel, and in the music, the track is in the right channel. So usually it's kind of panned in a certain way where you can hear the music now on the right and you can hear the click and cues on the left if you're using headphones. So let's say you have true stereo right now and it's split. So if you want to hear the audio in the left channel, you can just hit this to on, and now you hear the audio in both left and right channels, which is great. So most of the time when you're using this, you'll have this pan feature, yet the audio preview will be turned off. It'll be gray like this, because when you're routing your iPad or iPhone or iPod, Prime splits that track and it sends the click and cues to the left and it sends the track to the right, so that when you're on stage, the click is not bleeding through into the house for everyone to hear. So you only want to use this if you're maybe during rehearsal, or if you want to test something, or you want to listen through your headphones to kind of get to see how a track sounds, or you know, anything like that. But you probably wouldn't want to have this turned on during a live set, because you're not going to the click to bleed back into the house. So let's see. So that's pan right there. I'm going to keep that on so you guys can hear that through your left and right. To the right of that, this is really cool. So Prime has just been getting into these new features of what we call section looping, live looping, and section jumping, and with dynamic cues. And I'm going to show you kind of what that looks like. This is a really cool feature. So if you'll notice at the top, there are different, like here's the verse 2, chorus, bridge, down chorus, instrumental, or interlude, sorry. And if you'll notice that all these segments are already like kind of like pre-written, and you know where each section will start. So let's say that you're in the verse and you just want to jump ahead to the chorus. Like you don't want to go through the rest of the track, you just want to, you know, go straight to the chorus, save time. Maybe you're wanting to start off with the bridge or something interesting to change up the way the song goes. So if I'm playing the song, I'm in the intro right now, and I'm just going to tap on the chorus, and you can see it highlights it. So it's just going to go straight to the chorus, which is really cool. It bypassed the verse because I told it to go. So I'm going to bypass the next chorus and tap on the bridge. So when it gets close to the chorus, you'll notice it'll even call out the cues as bridge. So that's really great. Let's try to jump ahead to the instrumental. And you can do this backwards, forwards. If I'm in the instrumental, I can go back to verse 1. I don't have to just move forward. This is great. So obviously you'll test this out and kind of get a feel for, like, okay, I know what's coming. I know this song pretty well. I know what's going to work to jump here, to jump here. So that's a great feature. So also, if you'll notice above these little arrows where right next to the pan button, it's grayed out now because the track is stopped, but it says loop. And so let's say you're playing that same song, and I want to have a couple more times through the introduction. I don't want to go straight to the verse just yet. I kind of want to build up on that. So I'm in that section. I'm just going to hit loop, and you'll notice that it highlighted the intro again. It's going to replay and loop back to the beginning of the intro. So you can do that with any one of the sections that you're on. As soon as you hit that loop button, it'll loop back to this current section that you're on. Or if you want to, during this, you can tap another section, any section that you want to jump to, and it'll go there. So that's kind of section jumping. And also, what's great about dynamic cues is that whatever section you jump to, so if I'm in the verse, the next cue that it's currently going to be on is the down chorus. It's going to call off the down chorus. But if I tell it to go to the verse, it's not going to call off the down chorus. It knows to tell me that I'm headed to verse 2 because that's what I've selected. So there's no worry about like, oh, is it going to call off the intro or call off the down chorus? It'll call off whatever section you have marked unless you don't, and then it'll call off the next one. So that's great. So that's section jumping, section looping, dynamic cues. Another cool feature, at the top right hand corner you will see where it says start and end. And if you notice where it says start and end, if you'll just touch that, it brings this drop down menu. So you can actually set, right now the song is set to start at 00 and to stop at 622. So right now we have Prime telling, or we're telling Prime, we want the song to do, we want you to start and stop the song all the way through. We want to play the whole song, and we don't want to have any fade out at all. But you can change that. So now I want the song to start at 10 seconds. So the first 10 seconds of the song, it's just going to start right at the 10-second marker. And let's say I want to go down from 622 and I want to end the song at like 6 minutes instead of 622. So I can just keep going down to that. And then when I get to 6 minutes, I want to do a 5-second fade out. So 5 seconds before, it's going to start fading out slowly. So you can just stop that here. So now when I play this track, I try to scroll back, I try to scrub back to the beginning, but now it's jumped, it won't let me because it knows that I want to start where I told it to start. So that's pretty cool. So if I scrub ahead to where I stopped, I'm thinking it's maybe somewhere around here. Maybe a little bit further. So right there. So you'll hear it fade out just a little bit. Right there, it faded out. So that's really cool, and you can set that anywhere. So when you're done, you don't want to, you can just set that back to start and stop on the default where you want it to start and stop, which is really cool. And you can do a longer fade out if you want. That's totally up to you. Excuse me. So that's start and end times, fade times. Now this is probably something that's going to be really, really cool for you guys to look at next, and this is MIDI mapping. So if you'll notice up in the left-hand corner, top left-hand corner, that little button that says MIDI. Right now it says MIDI disconnected because I don't have a MIDI controller that's connected to Prime. So right now you can use Prime with any MIDI controller that will send MIDI notes to Prime, which is great. So if you're using a keyboard or if you're using a foot controller like Looptimus, which is what I have, we're going to kind of show you how that looks. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in the Looptimus to my iPad, and you can do this by most of these come with just a standard USB cable, and you'll have to get what's called an official Apple Lightning to USB adapter, like it's like a camera adapter, and you can get that. It plugs right into your Lightning port. So I'm going to just plug that in, and you'll see that right away now it says Looptimus connected, which is great. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on the button next to where it says Looptimus connected. It says MIDI. I'm going to tap MIDI, and now everything that you see that has a little rectangular box can be mapped to your controller. So let's say you're in a set and you're like, well, I want to like play tracks using Prime. This is great, but I don't necessarily like the fact that I have to reach over and tap it with my hand. I don't, it's going to be a little awkward. Maybe I hit the wrong button. So you have a keyboard or you have a foot controller like Looptimus, and you can assign these buttons to start and stop songs, or to jump sections, or to lower faders, which we'll talk about in a second. And you can change these to whatever. And now the cool thing is you don't have to touch the screen on the iPad. You can use your controller and make it a little more subtle and kind of stay in the moment there and not feel like things are going to mess up or it's just going to get awkward. So now you can see that some of the songs in my set list have the boxes are filled in, and some of the boxes are just blank. So the cool thing about this is when I plug Looptimus in, it automatically maps the songs in the set list to the button on the controller in order that I have. So now that I know that the songs are set, I'm going to go ahead and hit MIDI again at the top left hand corner. I'm just going to hit MIDI, and it's going to save all those MIDI settings. So now song 1 will be button 1 that I have in my controller. So I just hit button 1. I'm going to show you the Looptimus controller in just a second how I'm doing this. This is amazing. So I didn't touch the iPad, I just used my controller. So I'm going to touch the next button on the controller and it goes to the next song. It's amazing. So if you look right here, I'm going to show you a window. And I have the Looptimus controller here, and I have my expression pedal. And I'm going to show you kind of how this works. So right now I have this button mapped to the first song. So if I hit this button, it's going to start that first song. And I have also assigned my volume pedal here, my expression pedal, to be the master fader. And we'll talk about that in just a second. So if you just jump to the second song as a second button. And the third song is a third button.
Intro 1, 2, 3.
So this is really cool. So you can just keep going, and you can map all those songs to a button, or what's really cool is you can assign these buttons to sections within the song. So earlier we were talking about jumping and section jumping, section looping. Say I don't want to have to touch the screen of the iPad to go back to the verse. I just want to be able to assign it to a button. So now you can. So I'm going to hit the stop button here, and it stops the track. And I believe some of this is in here. I have it saved here to the next bank. So if you see at the top there, I have those sections mapped, pre-mapped already. And again, you can do this with the Looptimus or whatever controller you're using. So I'm going to hit MIDI again just to show you that they were assigned. So this first button here is this track. So in this song bank 2, you notice I pressed the 2 and it highlighted verse 1. So I didn't touch the iPad at all. I used the controller, and it's going straight to the verse. Yeah, let's see, button 3 I have to the next verse. Button 4 I have to the chorus. So I'm going to bypass the next verse and go straight to the chorus on this one, because I don't want to sing the verse again, so I'm going to go right into the chorus. So and I did that, mapping that straight to this button, which is great. Now you see it goes to the chorus. I believe button 6 is the bridge, so I'm going to hit that. And so now after the chorus, it's going to head to the bridge. This is what makes mapping with a MIDI controller so great, is because I have hands-free. I'm totally able to just focus on that set and to know, a lot of guys take their controllers and they'll mark bridge, or they'll put tape on here and just write what it is so that they can know where they've mapped their verses or their choruses or whatnot. So you can do this however, but this is a great resource and tool to show you that you don't have to just use the iPad. You can map it to a controller. So that's great. Another thing with this Looptimus here is I have in the back, I have an expression pedal that's to this volume. And so I'm going to show you how I've mapped it to this master fader. So on the same song, I'm going to hit MIDI again, the top left-hand corner. And you can see that by the pan button, the master to the left of the pan, it has the gray box is filled in with a note or with a control change. So I hit MIDI again until I know that's there. So if I see that it's all the way down, I can actually boost the volume pedal, and now you see the master fader is boosted up with the volume. So I'm going to play the same song.
1, 2, 3, 4.
So you hear it's kind of like not there, and I just slowly raise the master volume. And this is a MIDI expression pedal that's going straight into the back of the Lutimus. And I'm controlling this master. It's sending a control change to up and down the fader on the master volume level. It's amazing. You can assign this same fader to some of these buttons. Like if you want the faders to go up on the program, or you want the bass to be louder, you can assign it to there too. Most guys will just probably use this for the master fader, but it is an option. So that's great. That's using the expression pedal there to up and down the volume, to change sliders using control changes. So pretty amazing. I've used this personally with the Lutimus and Prime together for student ministry sessions and worship weekends, and it's very responsive, it's very reliable, and so it's just amazing. And so that's the expression pedal with master volume and MIDI mapping. Moving on to something I think that you guys will have some questions about. I'm going to go ahead and remove this window. So some of you guys may say, well, what if we have songs that we have recorded ourselves, or our church has recorded, and they're not on Loop Community, so we can't get them in Prime, but we want to get them in Prime. So what we have is called the Prime Cloud, and we have an uploader that you can use to upload your custom tracks to your Prime account, and they will show up in Prime just like songs that you've purchased will show up in Prime. So there is in our website, if you go to the home page of loopcommunity.com, sign in at the top, and there will be an upload button that you'll be able to see, and you click that upload button and it'll walk you straight to the details of how to upload your tracks to our website using that Prime uploader. Now there's a couple of different things with this that are pretty important because some guys that are just new to this, they are getting their tracks ready and they're getting ready to upload them to the website, and they don't really know, it's maybe a little unclear. The instructions that it gives you, there's two different types of tracks that people will upload. Sometimes they'll upload a multi-track, and sometimes they'll upload a split track. So the multi-track, what that is just like what you see here on the Prime screen. It is each individual stemmed instrument. So we have the acoustic, we have the bass, we have the background vocals, the drums, the electric. So that is like a true multi-track. Will give you the actual stems of each instrument. Now the split track, what that does is it's just one single audio file that has the click and cues pan to the left, and then it has the track pan to the right. So you won't have all these different faders with each individual instrument. You'll just have like one blue fader that will say track or something that you've named it, and all the audio, all the instruments will be just in this one track. And then you'll still have your cues and click down here separated for it's pan left and pan right for your track pan right, and for the click and cues pan left. So it's important when you're naming your files and using our uploader on the home page of our website at the very top to make sure you're naming your files correctly. So kind of what I have done here is on the home page, I'm going to bring this over, and I'm just going to use this as an example. There'll be, when you log in, there'll be an upload button up here, and you can click that. It'll take you to the upload section of our website where you'll upload your tracks to Prime. You'll click the iPad icon. It's the black one, and then you'll click on that to upload your tracks. You're going to name them, and when you're naming a split track file, and from a multi-track file, it needs to be, it's very particular what you name the split track file, because if you don't upload it just right and using those instructions that are on the page, it won't push through to your Prime account. And you'll say, well, I uploaded it, I did everything, and I'm not seeing it. What happened? And usually it's because the file name is incorrect, or you haven't zipped up the stems just right. And so it can be a little bit of a tricky process for some people that if you have no idea what you're doing, or if you've never uploaded custom tracks before, or if you haven't read through the instructions just very well. So make sure you read that. So like a split track name kind of needs to be your song title, and then it has to have an underscore underneath of that with the word split to the left. So I'm just going to give you an example. This isn't the uploader, but something like this would be an example of, I'm just going to use Our God would be the name of your song, and then you're going to give an underscore, and then you're going to have the word split. Okay, and that would be the way that you're going to name your file for a split track. And Prime knows when it sees split, it knows to split the audio to the left, or sorry, to the right, and then the click and cues to the left. And that's one way that when you're uploading, that's great to use for split tracks when you're naming them, and multi-tracks as well. So it's a great resource. So basically the question that you have is, how do I upload? So like I said, log in to our website with your username and password. At the very top of the website up here, you'll see an upload button. Just like one of these, it'll be an upload, and you'll click upload, and it'll walk you straight through the steps of how to upload your tracks, what to name them, and zip those stems up into a folder and upload that folder and name it. And you'll be probably 2 minutes, 3 minutes max. It will process that track. Then you log into Prime and you'll see your track uploaded straight to your Prime account. It's that simple. It doesn't cost anything to upload your track because it's your track and you're putting it in there. And so that's a great way for, let's say your church just did an album and it's not, available in the community, but you guys want to have it in Prime and use it for your worship teams, or maybe you're wanting to kind of have your worship team rehearse some things and you wanted to upload a multi-track version with the stemmed instruments that you've recorded, you can do that. And so it's a great way to not just have songs that you've purchased from the community, but to use it as a resource to upload your own tracks to use for live performance and in worship settings. So again, really highlighting this app to make sure that you guys know that it's free. Doesn't cost anything. So if you go to the App Store and you want to download this for your iPad, which I'm running now, the iPhone or the iPod, you can run that straight from one of those 3 devices, and it's a free download from the App Store. And so we'd love for you guys, maybe you already have Prime and you're just kind of learning how to use it, and this is what the webinar was for you today, or you heard about this app but you haven't downloaded it and you're wondering what it's about, and now you kind of know a little bit better how it works. You can download that from the App Store, and we would love for you guys to just leave us a review. How simple this app is and how much, maybe how it's improved or helped your worship ministries or your live performance setting. And so we would love to just have that because it helps us out. It just really gets people more aware of how great of an app this is, and it really helps us to determine as we continually want to make this app better for you guys, to what needs to change and what ways we can make it better.